We want to thank you for your attendance and participation, and we look forward to the presentation being meaningful to you. Again, this is part of the ARA Strengthening Communities group. And just for anyone that's not familiar yet with the LRRC or a new participant, the LRRC is a social service information and referral agency located in Lakewood Township. And our goal is to assist all clients with comprehensive services or any social service need that they may have, and our staff is excellent in terms of their knowledgeability of the various programs, rules, and regulations, and degree of advocacy that they provide in complex cases. And of course, we provide services to locally Lakewood Township, Ocean County, New Jersey, and we actually get inquiries nationally and even internationally. Today's topic, we're going to discuss PowerPoint presentations as a marketing tool. I find in particular, on a personal note, that they are a very powerful and effective methodology of conveying a lot of information in a very creative way. But before we really get into the aspect of PowerPoint and how PowerPoints can be very effective for nonprofits, I think we first need to really discuss and define marketing, which is a very complex subject and perhaps confusing to people. In terms of marketing itself, a lot of the experts divide marketing into inbound, outbound, the research, and then actually taking it, pulling it all together for a marketing plan. We're going to a little bit later on discuss much more in depth exactly what is meant by inbound versus outbound marketing, and we're going to cover the various research aspects, both internally for your organization and agency, as well as demographic research for the people that you're trying to reach for your services, and then ultimately how to put together a plan. It does really require comprehensiveness, but the side benefit of doing it in this methodology is that it will definitely improve parts of your operation, as we'll see when we get more into detail about these different areas. Now, typically, in a typical for-profit or regular business environment, you have an executive board, you have the upper management and staff, chief executive officers, COOs, operating officers, IT officers, finance officers, etc. Then you have the investors, and then you have ultimately the customers, the people that are buying the product or the service. Obviously, this is different, and this is in its purest form the way that businesses operate. Private business can be somewhat different. The private business might not have investors buying stock. They might have venture capitalists that invest in the business. They still may or may not have a board, or it may just be the owner of the business. And then, of course, depending on the size of the company, upper management staff, or it might be a one person wearing 5 or 6 upper management level hats. This is very different from a nonprofit. A nonprofit, obviously, that you're very familiar with, is comprised of your board and your staff, funders and supporters, for some of you, donors and volunteers, and then ultimately your clients. And the structure being different, we have to ask several questions that we're going to ask in terms of how do these differences between traditional business model and nonprofit differ, and to what extent should it or should it not affect any kind of comprehensive marketing plan. I'm going to really emphasize in more detail the very fundamental role of funders and supporters, and how important it is to convey to them information regarding your organization, and regarding your achievements in terms of past grants and programs, your current situation, and what you look forward to do in the future, depending on, a whole bunch of different variables. Right now, we can really ask ourselves, several questions. But first, let's define marketing a little bit, more in depth. And when you look at them in different materials available on marketing and how to define marketing, you find from basic definitions to complex. So on the most basic level, we see that it's a process by which companies create customer interest in goods or services. Now, I don't think in a typical business or nonprofit model, having someone just interested in your goods or services is necessarily going to go very far in terms of, paying salaries and making a profit if you're a business model. So obviously, we need to go well beyond just an interest, although the interest, we'll see, definitely plays a role in terms of a startup or new and emerging markets, or if you're going to introduce a new service. What expands, the second definition expands a little bit more in terms of identify the customer, satisfy the customer, and keep the customer. Obviously, in the nonprofit world, we simply need to substitute customer and client. And of course, the more sophisticated definition, that we not only want to involve customers in knowing about the product, getting interested in it, and perhaps purchasing it or utilizing your services, but we want to meet the needs and satisfy the client or customer in order to have them come back. And the operative word here is value. I think the last definition is the one that's the most comprehensive, as we'll see shortly. And marketing is really, it's a set of activities and processes that allows a business company or a nonprofit to communicate what they have to offer, demonstrate the value of it, and demonstrate the value in general to other people and even society at large. Now, in terms of some distinctions in the nonprofit marketing world, I've come across, as we see, different interests in terms of the goal. And we see from definition number one that marketing works to serve public interest as opposed to marketing purely for financial gain. One can infer from this definition, as I'm sure people are interested in, is that means that you can, a nonprofit can look to make some financial gain, but not purely for financial gain. The second definition, again, expands a little bit more and talks about not only public interest, but causes, and that do not necessarily seek financial profits. And just to be a little bit tricky, I think that it's fair, especially in this economic environment, to insert, and I borrowed from the business model marketing definitions, I think that they really both apply, certainly the third and fourth one, the last one being the most comprehensive. To have an effective marketing program of which PowerPoints can play a major role, it really needs to be comprehensive, and you really need to go with the full definition of marketing. Marketing experts talk about the 4 P's of marketing, and they are the product, or in our nonprofit world, the services, the price, promotion, and place. Obviously, substituting service for product, and exactly what is it that you want to provide, and a lot of times we have to determine what we want to provide based on the need, and in the nonprofit world, based on our mission statement. Now, we'll talk about that more in depth later. Certainly, needs are dynamic and can change, and as a result, there perhaps should be, depending on exactly how your mission statement is worded, there might be a need to modify it or revise it as the needs of the community change, as economic factors change. There are many things that can change that could require someone, perhaps funding or different opportunities, or a natural expansion of existing services. And they cause you to go to your board or have your executive director or CEO go to the board with a plan to perhaps consider revising or expanding your mission statement. But these are the things in the nonprofit world that should drive in terms of the marketing. Now, obviously, the price we can substitute in the nonprofit world for value. And again, the idea here is not to think that there necessarily is not competition in the nonprofit world, even if you're the only organization providing service X in your immediate area. If you're not doing it well, or if people perceive that you're not doing it well, it's quite plausible that they will be willing to drive or even take public transportation, if necessary, a short distance away in order to obtain what they believe to be better services or better value in the service. So this is something to really pay attention to, and we'll see that there's a whole area in terms of market research on potential competition. Perhaps the word most, notably associated with marketing is promotion. You obviously want to promote your organization, promote your services, especially if there's something very special about it, in terms of if it's a service that's unique, if it's a service that's in great demand, if you have a certain expertise. So there are many different aspects that you can utilize in terms of the promotion aspect of marketing. And another very important thing to think through is in terms of the place. Now, place, which is less obvious, it could refer not only to the place of your location, and we'll talk about ideas for expansion on that, but it can also, where is the market? There are many things that could be done remotely today. One of the things that you might want to investigate within your organization is, do you have the capacity, depending on the type of service that you provide, to conduct phone appointments, as an example, where you could go beyond people coming for actual physical appointments in person, and you can have an effective phone appointment. This might be, something that some of you can at least consider doing, depending on whether or not you need to absolutely have the client there in person in your office, or if there's any kind of procedure involved. The technology today, with different software available, is such that between computer screens, cameras, and the phone or the mic on the computer, you can. There are many things that can be done in the virtual or through the internet. So this is a natural or potential means of expansion for your existing services or new services. So all these things need to be, very much considered in terms of putting together a proper marketing plan. The marketing plan can either be something that you want to do that's comprehensive, where you want to market your entire organization. You might want to focus on specific services. A lot of this really has to do with researching, what your current usage is, the clientele that are utilizing it. We'll talk about that a little bit more in depth later. I'm just throwing out some of the general ideas for people to think about in terms of different aspects of marketing itself, and how I think that despite what seem to be the differences between the business and nonprofit world model, that you really need to think a little bit like a business, especially in today's environment.